Today on sci-ology, we are going to go over the major veins that drain blood from the lower limbs, in other words, the veins of the feet and legs. Let's start with the veins that drain blood from the foot up towards the leg. The dorsal veins of the foot start with the dorsal digital veins on each side of the digits. These veins run from the ends of the dorsal surface of the toes proximally up each side of the toes. These veins unite in pairs to form the dorsal metatarsal veins. The dorsal metatarsal veins then drain the blood up most of the length of the metatarsal bones before together forming and draining into the dorsal venous arch. The dorsal venous arch runs along the bases of the metatarsal bones. The lateral side of this arch drains into the small saphenous vein and onwards up the leg this way. The medial side of this arch drains into the medial marginal vein and then onto the long saphenous vein on its way back up the leg. The dorsal venous arch also drains into the anterior tibial vein, which also carries on back up the leg. The plantar veins of the foot start with a plexus of small veins on the plantar surfaces of the toes that drain into the plantar digital veins. The plantar digital veins run proximally up each side of the digits. These veins then unite to form and drain into the plantar metatarsal veins. These veins run proximally along the metatarsal bones. They end by forming and draining into the plantar venous arch. This arch runs in an arch around the base of the metatarsal bones. The lateral side of this arch drains into the lateral plantar vein. The lateral plantar vein runs across from the lateral side of the foot to the medial side. The medial side of the plantar arch drains into the medial plantar vein. The medial plantar vein runs proximally along the medial side of the foot. The lateral plantar and medial plantar veins unite to form the posterior tibial vein, which carries the blood up to the leg. Let's now move up to the veins of the leg. The anterior tibial vein runs from the dorsal surface of the foot and ascends proximally up the anterior surface of the lower leg within the interosseous membrane between the tibia bone and the fibula bone. Below the knee, this vein runs through the interosseous membrane to run to the posterior surface of the leg where it unites with the posterior tibial vein. This union forms the popliteal vein. The small saphenous vein runs from the dorsal surface of the foot up the lateral side and around to the posterior surface of the leg. It ends around the level of the knee where it merges with the popliteal vein. The long saphenous vein runs from the dorsal surface of the foot up the medial side of the lower leg, then thigh. It ends by draining into the femoral vein. The femoral vein runs from the adductor hiatus superior-medially up the thigh region. As it reaches the posterior of the inguinal ligament, this vein ends by continuing as and draining into the external iliac vein. The external iliac vein drains the blood from the lower limb up into the rest of the body. Several other veins drain into the femoral vein. The deep femoral vein runs superior-medially up the inner thigh to drain into the femoral vein. The lateral circumflex femoral vein runs horizontally along the anterior of the femur bone to drain into the femoral vein. The medial circumflex femoral vein runs horizontally along the posterior of the femur bone to drain into the femoral vein. And lastly, the fibular vein runs up the lateral side of the lower leg before turning medially to merge with and drain into the posterior tibial vein. And that concludes this video on the veins of the lower limb.